In 1986, iconic director David Cronenberg remade the 1958 B-movie The Fly, this time not starring Vincent Price but starring Jeff Goldblum and Geena Davis. This movie was a huge box office hit. It spawned a sequel and is remembered fondly this day. When people talk about remakes, this often comes up as one of the remakes that is better than the original. Is it better than the original? It's hard to say. In this podcast, we're comparing the two movies. This is Beyond the Graves and Stars. We talk about horror and sci-fi remakes and franchises. This one was chosen by you, the audience. We called it effing remakes. You had 5 to choose from. Obviously, The Fly won. It beat The Fog, Firestarter, Fright Night, and Flatliners. Ian Pointer, a friend of the show, he designed the logo, he's helped with the merch stuff, returns to talk to me about these movies. He'd not watched them for years, I've not watched them for years. This is a conversation about the 1958 Fly and the 1986 The Fly.
Everyone in the theater hold on firmly to his seat, please. Stop it! I'm Vincent Price. What unearthly horror did that girl gaze upon? What manner of incredible thing walked beneath that hood? It would be unfair at this time to show you any more of what went on in that laboratory where a man actually dared to play God. So fantastic, words can't begin to describe it. You must see it with your own eyes to believe it. When the fly comes your way.
It isn't like any other fly I've ever seen. No! Please let me look at the fly.
I've killed Andre. Please help me. Call the police and...
The charge can only be murder.
There were no mistresses. I had no lovers.
Why did you kill him?
God, don't let it get out.
Inspector, it's in the garden. Come quickly.
As God is my witness, I saw the thing. It's unbelievable. I shall never forget that scream as long as I live.
The fly's on its way. Watch out for it. It's far beyond anything your mind could ever conceive.
Ian, thanks for coming back.
Oh, you're welcome.
How you been? You all right?
Yes, not bad. You know, just watching films and being creative.
Yeah, chilling. So The Fly, we both watched the 1958 version last night separately.
Yeah.
And what were your thoughts? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it does. It is a classic. I don't think it's extraordinary or anything, but it's it's a typical sort of 50s, 60s. Wait, was it? It's 58.
58,
was
yeah.
it 58, yeah. See, it's one of those films that, as a young kid, I sort of saw bits of, but I never really watched it consistently all the way through. And I thought it was very good.
Yeah,
I thought it was very good. And I think the look and feel. While I was watching it, I was thinking, I don't know what it is, but it just seems to have this sort of it feels like a studio sort of setup. I can't really explain it. So I thought, if I look at this differently, imagine this was a show on a stage. Suddenly, all of the costumes and everything that they were doing I think it would really work. So as a film, I think I kind of feel like it would work well as a stage show.
Yeah.
But yeah, because it's not gory or anything. Not really. I mean,
No.
there's a few suggestions of it, but it's not. It is just kind of just actors sort of walking around and talking. I thought it. Yeah, I thought it was good.
Yeah, I mean, you got to take into context. Firstly, it's nearly 70 years old.
Yeah.
And one thing that surprised me when I watched it, I've seen it a couple of times in my life, but I always thought it was in black and white. And reading up on it last night, a lot of people think that there's kind of a Mandela effect about it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think,
Good point.
and I thought this once halfway through, I'm like, why did I think that was black and white? And reading up, the sequels were black and white, the ones that came a few years later, The Return of the Fly, and there was a few others. And when it was released, all the publicity shots were black and white. So I think in our heads, a lot of people have thought that. And Vincent Price has said, even though he was a fan of the movie, he thinks the biggest mistake was doing the sequels in black and white. He was like, it's like stepping back. He's like, I love black and white films, but you don't do a sequel to a colour movie in black and white. Which they did do, I believe, with The Human Centipede, and that's rubbish. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, as well, it was intended, well, not intended, it was released as a double bill when it first came out. So I don't think they expected it to be as big as it was. It was released with a movie called Spider Master X2. Never heard of it. And they came out at the same time. It cost $332,000, which for them was probably a fair bit. For this type of a film, for a B movie, and it made $3 million, which is really good. And it was the director was Kurt Newman, who most well known for The Fly, and Conrose, and he done loads of movies, a lot of sort of B movie pictures like the Tarzan ones in the 50s, that sort of thing. And he never got to know this was his biggest hit because he died a week after it was released.
Oh,
I don't know what he died of actually. I didn't read that much into it, but. Yeah, I think it is a classic. There's those few iconic scenes.
Yeah, there are. I mean, everyone remembers the last scene. I mean, that really,
yeah.
But throughout it, and it has that sort of that typical, really long intro where it's when they put the whole cast up at the beginning of the film with those old films as well. Yeah, they used to do that so you would read it because people would leave. And they go, and I think that's a reason why a lot of, especially big films now, you get the after credit scenes, so people stay. But I like the intro because you had that big sort of starts with this sort of bombastic orchestra music, and then it gets more mellow. But then you start to hear the noise of a fly. Yeah, and I hadn't even thought to pick up on that before. Do you know what I mean? No. And I thought that's quite well done. But the film starts, and I didn't remember that it's told as a sort of the main character dies at the beginning, and then it's told in flashbacks from the wife. I didn't remember that.
No, I didn't at all. All I really remembered was the key scenes, and that there was a little boy in it who was quite annoying. But watching it as an adult, I didn't find the kid as annoying, to be honest. Philippe. There's nothing. All the characters, the male characters, had French names, didn't they?
Yeah, Andre, Francois.
Yeah, but the writer of the original short story, which his name escapes me, it was written as a short story and it was in Playboy magazine. He was half French, so that might be why he's used these French names.
Oh, I see.
And it's one of those. It just is an iconic B movie, and you think of I had forgotten, but the scenes of him with the black towel over his head before the reveal, you see that everywhere. Yeah. And then obviously when you see him first with the fly head, and then the final help me scene on the spider web. Yeah. Which if you haven't seen if you haven't seen the movie, you'll know this scene. At the end, Vincent Price and another guy, they look at a spider web, and there is the fly with the head of
the head and an arm, just where it's been swapped.
And that was all done by animatronics. And apparently they had to do lots of scenes with this because Vincent Price and the other guy kept cracking up. They found it hilarious when they were filming it. And I've got to mention Vincent Price, legendary status, and I think everything I've seen him in, he has been brilliant. Yeah. In this movie, he's so iconic. But if you watch him when the other characters are doing dialogue, it's fascinating just to watch him perform. He's such a good actor. I mean, I don't know if you've seen much of his stuff.
Well, he was in the Tingler.
The Tingler, yes, the classic The Tingler.
It gave me tingles when he came on screen. So.
Yeah. Obviously, like House on Haunted Hill, and
all of that,
and we'd probably know him from our generation, we're in our 40s, from that Edward Scissorhands was his last film.
Oh, right.
He worked with Tim Burton a few times.
Yeah.
And this is one of his most famous movies, I'd say. But when it came out, I just think they thought it was another one of these sort of trashy B movies that you used to get in the late night screenings and double bills. Only a PG, which back then I think it was as well. Yeah. Often the certificates change. Whereas the remake, which we'll talk about soon, is an 18, a very gory 18.
Oh yeah, it's a different take on it.
Yeah, and one thing that's different is there's a lot of the romance. We'll talk about more when we talk about the second one. But in this one, the main two characters are already married. They are a couple, so there's none of that side of it. But you have got Vincent Price's character is in love with Helen, who is his brother's wife. So there's that little twist on it.
Yeah, there is that.
Which another thing that I'd forgotten about. In my mind, it was like Vincent Price was this mad inventor, and he did experiments on his brother. But it's not that at all. His brother is the scientist.
Yeah. And
he experiments. It's the teleport machine, isn't it? But that's one of the few things that is the same in the original and the remake.
Yeah.
And he teleports with a fly.
What I want to sort of summarize is the way it's actually told. Like, in which order you're seeing kind of the endish of the film first, and it's like it goes straight into this murder scene.
Yeah.
Right, and it's just straight in there, and then you just hear this woman say, "I've just killed my husband," and you just think, "What is this?" And if you don't know that you will know it's about flies or whatever, but you just kind of like, "What is this murder? What is she doing? What's been going on?" And then when she gets back to the house, she's really paranoid. She's looking, and she hears a fly, and she goes up to it, and you think, has she got a real big fear of flies or something? And you don't know what it is, and you're thinking, what's this film about? Is it about an obsession with flies or something? But yes, the way they then do the flashback, and then you see the story and how it suddenly makes sense. So I think if you were to rewatch it, you're like, oh, that's why she was looking at the fly, and that's why she was like, Well,
that's the thing, because when this came out, obviously now it's iconic, and we all know, especially even if you haven't seen it, but you've seen, say, the remake, or you've seen the clips, you know who the fly is and what's happened. Whereas when it came out, you might have thought, it's about a killer fly or something.
Yeah.
And that's so you've got to look at it in that context, which is very difficult now with films. He's 70 years old.
Yeah.
And imagine if you'd got to our age of, let's say early 40s, and you'd never seen The Wizard of Oz. You'd know most of the scenes. And I hadn't seen Casablanca till about 10 years ago. And I felt like when I watched it that I had seen it.
Yeah.
Because of all that. So it's very difficult to watch it in that context.
Yeah.
But also with the one thing I did notice, it was 95 minutes. I've got to be honest, it did feel it. I thought bits of it, but the pacing in films those days were slower. But it was half an hour until you even got to the flashbacks. It was a very long start.
I do sort of see that, but I thought the way everything was sort of happening, and then all of a sudden you're in this scene, it's like the press has it's really squashed this guy, and then she's done. I think her confession scene was intriguing.
Yeah,
you could start to see the layers of intrigue here. It's like, this isn't just a simple murder. What is this? Yeah. And you're getting, and then I think it brings you in at that point. Once you've got over that kind of the whole murder bit, you kind of then you're sort of more into the movie and the intrigue behind it and the mystery.
Yeah, it's just a third of the film is that. I think if it was made now, it'd probably be sort of 10 minutes. But we haven't got the attention spans that people did then for films.
Yeah.
And I did notice that, and I still like that, because I watch a lot of old films. So for me, it's fine. But I thought as well that when I saw it was 95 minutes for an old B movie, I thought it'd be about 70 minutes. And if you didn't have that intro, it would be, it would be that short film. And I think it's well done because it's based on a short story, and there's this character development. You get to know people. It's not just man turns to fly, wife kills man, which it so could have been. And also what I admire is it doesn't hold back with, he's crushed. So that could, if you'd just seen a bit more, it would have been a higher certificate and not family friendly. But it's done well that what's happened. And you could show this film to anyone. It might scare them, but there's nothing too bad or gory and also there's no transformation scene, which they wouldn't have had the budget to have that. But in the remake, that's a big thing, him changing. Now the actor who played Andre, who is the Fly, David Hedison, he spoke to the director and said, should we have bits where I'm gradually changing, like things on his face and that sort of thing? But they didn't have the budget to do it, so they couldn't. But I think a lot of the budget probably went on that final scene.
Probably.
Which still looks good, I think.
Can I just say though, I saw a lot of the way that the story was told was very similar to The Time Machine.
Yes,
because there were elements there where you're seeing like the end result, like when in The Time Machine when he comes back, and then the story gets told on what has actually happened and he got there. But another thing that came to mind is when he'd obviously created these little pods where he could transfer the dish from one side to the other, the saucer, whatever it was, that reminded me of the little time machine that he put put the cigar in. So he needed a witness. So he got his wife to witness it, and so he could iron out the things. And then he used the actual thing. He actually used the actual unit to do it himself, and it just kind of mirrored that kind of the way it was told was similar to The Time Machine for me. But not really, not incredible amount, but just certainly enough to sort of nod to that kind of the way that the story goes,
The Time Machine was 2 years after this, wasn't it? In 1960?
Yes.
So one thing I was going to mention, that the noise, the sounds from the teleporter in this was used in The Time Machine.
Was it actually? Because, it was, when he moves, and then it goes...
Yep, same noise.
The same noise. I thought it was.
I thought it was. Another eerie bit, was it the cat that just disappeared and you hear it? That was, I found that really eerie.
Where did it go?
That's the thing, you don't know, do you? And when you heard the noise of it, then later on it works with a guinea pig. And I was like, good, I don't want to see any animal cruelty or hear any animal cruelty. Which and
by the way, no flies were hurt in the creation of this film.
I love to see where Vincent Price is like, they're lovely people. They wouldn't even hurt a fly. It cuts to the next scene. I was thinking they've got to get that in. But Vincent Price, brilliant. I've been watching a lot of his films lately, and I can see why he's this legend. I think he's up. I was reading, was it an interview with his daughter or something, that if it wasn't for the fact he was from America and in B movies, he'd be up there with the likes of Richard Burton and Laurence Olivier, because especially for that era, was so good. Have you ever seen Witchfinder General? Matthew
No,
Hockman?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, that's still an 18 to this day. It's all shot around East Anglia. There's like Lavenham's in it and Kersey, and it's just a really good. It's billed as horror, but it's more of a dark drama, and his performance in that is spot on. But anyway, sorry, I digress. But this is well worth revisiting, and you can see why they wanted to remake it in the 90s, because it's that great story. 80s, sorry, it's that great story. But because of when it was made, the budget, and you couldn't get away with much. I think
with this one, I think that the whole him turning into a fly, it was more of a transference. It's like portions of the fly go here and to him, and then the other go to the fly. Whereas the other one, the remake, is a mutation. It's a fusion of it. So it's the similar concept, but it's not.
it's more realistic in the new one. Whereas it's a new one, the 80s one, which is nearly 40 years old. That's not a B movie. That was a studio picture made to be mainstream. So certain things like, imagine if there was a scene with a fly with Jeff Goldblum's head on it, it wouldn't have worked then. No. I think they deliberately left out putting that scene, the Help Me scene, in the remake. Yeah. I think they say the lines, but there isn't that. One other thing I want to make, I mentioned the young lad, the son, Philippe, that he's a bit of a annoying character. There's a scene where Vincent Price is, or one of them's talking to him about his mum, and she won't come out of her room, and he just says in a really sort of posh way, "You know how women are." Yeah, no, that's wow, right. That's so 1958.
He said she wanted to come out, and she said she changed her mind. You know how women are.
Yeah, this is like an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the film still looks great. I love the soundtrack, as I say, that sort of over-the-top orchestra.
Yeah.
And with low-budget movies then, the soundtrack helps elevate it to feel like a bigger movie.
Yeah.
It's like, I was thinking, imagine Star Wars in 77? If that didn't have that massive score, you might have actually noticed more of the fact that it was fairly low budget.
Yeah.
But it just felt big.
It did. And the music really, for these old films, certainly, really sort of elevate the scene.
Yeah.
It's the dramatic side of it, when he walks into the lab and you can sort of hear the music. It's yeah.
One other thing I wanted to mention, it's not sci-fi or horror related, but the actress who played she was like a nanny for the family, is Kathleen Freeman, who she's in Hocus Pocus all those years later as the sort of older person dressed up as a witch on Halloween, which you might remember, you might not. But what you will remember is in the Blues Brothers, she's the penguin, the nun, who brings them up, and the scene where they're swearing, and the nun hits them with a stick. Yeah. That's her, 30 years later. And the actress who played the nurse when in hospital was the voice of Cruella de Vil in the 101 Dalmatians animated.
Oh.
So there you go, some fun facts. So shall we give this film a rating and then have a break and talk about the remake?
Yeah.
So I'll do the actual what it's got on the socials. I've written that down wrong. On Letterboxd, it's got 3.5 out of 10. On IMDb, it's got 7.1 out of 3.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Sorry, 7.1 out of 10 on IMDb, but on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got 95%.
Really?
Yeah, I reckon that's old school fans going back. And
it depends who's.
I mean, I'd give it a low 4 because you've got to think of when it was made, iconic scenes and acting. Yeah, 4 for me.
I'd say a little bit less. I'd say 3.5. It didn't sort of.
You are Letterboxd.
I'm Letterboxd. Yeah, I would say 3.5 stars.
3.5 stars. Yeah. Cool. So what we'll do now, we'll have a little break. I'll probably play the trailer or something now, and then if you haven't already, go and watch the David Cronenberg's 1986 The Fly if you want to, because there will be spoilers. And then we'll be back to talk about that, because we're going to watch it now. And I haven't watched this for a few years.
Oh, I haven't seen it for well over 10 years.
There we go then. Help me.
I think you're making a mistake. I think you really want to talk to me.
Sorry, I have 3 other interviews to do before this party's over.
Yeah, if they're not working on something that'll change the world as we know it.
They say they are.
Yeah, but they're lying.
There is a limit, even to the imagination.
Human teleportation, molecular decimation, breakdown, and reformation is inherently purging.
Where our greatest creations meet our deepest fears.
Something went wrong, Seth. When you went through, something went wrong.
You are about to go beyond that limit.
Those weird hairs that were growing out of your back. I had them analyzed. They were definitely not human.
If you saw how scared and angry and desperate he is.
I'm sure Typhoid Mary was a very nice person, too, when you saw her socially.
No!
You're afraid to be destroyed and recreated, aren't you?
You're changing, Seth. Everything about you is changing.
Oh, no. What's happening to me? Am I dying? I want to know what's going on.
What does the disease want?
It wants to turn me into something else. Oh, no. A fly got into the transmitter pod with me that first time when I was alone. Don't go back to it. Could be contagious.
I'm afraid!
Don't be afraid.
No. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Help me. Please, help me.
When Steph Brundle makes a huge scientific technological breakthrough in teleportation, he decides to test it on himself. Unbeknownst to him, a common household fly manages to get inside the device, and the two become one. That's the letterbox synopsis, roughly. I mean, that is the synopsis. There's a lot more to it than that.
There is a lot more to it than that, but that is the general gist.
Yes, it's now 1986. This is the remake of The Fly, directed by David Cronenberg, starring Jeff Goldblum, Gina Davis, and John Getz. This is a classic, and I think it's because of this it won the vote from you guys.
Yeah.
I don't think it was as much to do as the original. I think people like this version.
Yeah, I think so.
And initial thoughts. I mean, it's been a while since you've seen it, you say?
It's certainly a lot gorier than I remember it being. And to be honest, yeah, I guess. So I think with him, with Seth Brundle, he managed to keep his brain, sort of his faculties in his brain, right until the very end, which was interesting. He never actually sort of really, it never really took over his brain that much. He was still quite sort of lucid. And I didn't remember it like that. I remembered him really sort of changing and turning sort of evil, but he was just sort of desperate. Yeah,
I mean it's a slow transformation after he gets in the machine, and at first he comes out almost like a superhero. You see him on a bar swinging around and basically almost like a Spider-Man montage of look how fit and healthy I am, and then slowly deteriorates with some great makeup and special effects.
Fantastic special effects.
Yeah, for 1986. I mean, this is Cronenberg, who's known for a term which I don't know if it was called it then, but it's now called body horror, isn't it? And with these practical effects and makeup, it has to look real. And the stuff he done, or does still, he's still making films, is certainly that. I mean, this is his second sort of major movie. He had a few smaller ones, and then Scanners done well, Videodrome done well. Then he done the Stephen King one for Paramount, The Dead Zone, with Christopher Walken. And then it was this, and I think this is the film that really put him on the map. And it's a simple story, slightly changed from the original, which I assume is a change from the short story as well. As we said in the last part, there's a romance in this movie as well. Or kind of romance. He meets Gina Davis's character at a party, takes her back to his flat and shows him the teleportation machines, and the story develops from there. I don't know if he knows or not, but she's a journalist.
He does. Yeah, that was a funny bit, because she did say that she was a journalist, and yet he just brought her back, this stranger, and then showed all of his equipment.
Yeah, I think he was trying to impress her by showing him his equipment, so to speak. And he's fallen for her, and he didn't expect her to want to tell the story through the newspaper she works in. But I like this, having the journalism side to it, because that was a way of helping the plot, because she talks him into documenting it with she wants to write a book about it. So he films what he's doing, and that way it's easier for the storyteller to get across what he's thinking, because he's literally it's like a narration in old films when you hear a voiceover, but it's actually in the plot.
Yeah.
And I hadn't thought about that before this time watching it.
That's true.
Whereas in the original, it's told through flashbacks.
Yeah.
So it's a different way of telling it, and I think this is a more unique way and works.
Yeah.
I was quite pleased, and I was quite pleased myself for noticing it. If I'm
Yeah.
honest. But yeah, I like that. And his character, there's more to his character than all the characters got different names. His Steph, it was Andre in the original. I think he's more, what's the word? More of a developed character. It feels more real. He's not just scientist husband.
Well, yeah, I think. Well, Seth Brundle, from what I sort of took from it, he's not really a crazy scientist, but more of a cocky engineer, because he was using bits that he's been commissioned to help with other scientists. So he is clever, but it's not sort of he's more of an engineer than a sort of scientist. So
I like that he one of his main motivations for creating a teleportation machine is or telepods is what he calls
telepods.
One of his reasons for doing that is he doesn't like vehicles. He gets travel sick, so he wants to. That's probably not the main motivation. That's probably put in for a little bit of comedy.
Yeah.
But in an early scene when they're driving back to the flat, I believe he says he doesn't like being in cars.
Yeah. And
that's a nice little touch, I think.
Yeah, I never noticed that.
Yeah. So I like him as a character, but as the story goes on, when the Fly and him come together, so to speak, he starts to develop a bit of a temper. And there's some great scenes of that, and I think it works being a likeable actor like Jeff Goldblum, because you can see him getting grumpy, you can see him getting, but there's always that side of it's Jeff Goldblum, so I kind of like him.
Yeah.
And also with him, I picked up on this straight away. Now I haven't seen this for years. Obviously, I've seen him in a lot of other stuff. He's got those eyes, big eyes, that towards the end when it does change, they keep that. You can sort of tell the eyes have been designed to look like his.
Yeah.
And you don't see much of it. It's not like in the original where there's a lot of it just walking about with a fly head.
Yeah.
It's a slow transformation. And then when it does come, my God, those effects are great. Closest thing I can think of, it reminds me of, is the effects at the end of The Thing, another remake, the John Carpenter one. And it just all looks real. It's got that kind of ickiness. Things look sticky and...
Yeah.
And... there's a horrible scene. He goes to a bar to basically meet a woman because he originally wants Gina Davis's character to merge with, to transport by herself.
Yeah.
So he's got two, he thinks like perfect people.
Yeah.
Because he thinks it puritizes them. So he goes to a bar, meets someone, he wants her to do it. But while in the bar, he has an arm wrestle with someone.
Yeah.
And this is a scene that as a kid I remember thinking, and he basically snaps someone's arm while arm wrestling. You see the bone come out. You see
I always remember that scene. There are loads of key scenes within this. I mean, you've got that arm wrestle scene. I mean, the whole view of the pods themselves is such a strong thing, and his whole process of mutation is just so distinctive.
When it comes to the gore, yes, some of it's nasty, but it's not all the way through it. There are some shocking scenes, some horrible scenes, but they're spread out. One thing I remember with this movie is it's an 18 certificate still, and that's probably for gore, and there's a little bit of sex in it and sex references, which is Cronenberg all over. But as a kid, this was one of the few sort of nastier, violent movies that I remember watching with my parents, or at least my parents had seen it as well, and we spoke about it. And I think that's because the bits do shock, but it's not constant. It's not, not like a zombie film where it's non-stop people getting ripped up. It's a while before there's any bit of gore, and it's that he puts a baboon through the teleporter.
Yeah, what happened to that baboon in the end? No. So carry on.
There's two. The first one that goes through turns inside out, and there's a brief scene of that, and it looks horrible.
Oh yeah.
And then I don't know with the second one, because it is there and he sort of befriends the baboon and it's like his pet and he talks to it. Another plot device, he's talking to the baboon.
Yeah.
And then once he changes, you don't see it anymore.
No.
Maybe there was a deleted scene where they had a fight or something.
Oh, I wouldn't think so. I would think it's more the whoever is the owner of that baboon probably sort of they only had a bit of time with him or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
well, that's one thing. I don't like picking up plot holes, especially on sort of films like this. But where the hell did he get baboons from?
No
in,
idea.
In the original one, they put a cat through, which is you'd have a cat. But firstly, he managed to acquire a baboon. And secondly, he has two.
He's got a baboon's supply line.
Yeah. But that's another thing with this movie. It's 96 minutes long, something like that. So I do think it has been edited down. I think there might have been a scene where he gets the baboon. There might have been a scene where I generally think there might have been. This is just, I haven't looked this up. I haven't looked much up for this because we just watched it, sort of thing. I think there might have been a scene where the fly and the baboon have a fight, or he does something, but because of animal rights and you don't want to see it get hurt. Okay, you do see one get turned inside out early on, but you don't. That's so obviously special effects, even though it looks real.
Yeah,
you know they wouldn't have ripped up a baboon to make that film.
Exactly.
So the baboon bits I remember. Another thing I sort of nods to the original. There's a scene where she points out that he wears, he's always wearing the same clothes.
Yeah.
And he opens a cupboard and there's all the same.
Yeah.
And he says it's something to do with Einstein. Said that so he's got less time thinking each day. But I think that comes from, in the original movie, the Andre character wears the same clothes in every scene. I read that in the facts about it.
Okay.
And that's, it's a film that is not set in one day or anything. He's always got the same clothes on.
Yeah.
So I think that's a little homage to that.
Yeah.
Which is nice. And if it weren't for research in the first one, I wouldn't have picked up on it. And they do have the line "Help me," which is when he's changing into the fly and he's starting to get all icky. His ear falls off.
Yeah.
And Gina Davis is scared of him, and they lean in and have a hug, and he says that, and I'm thinking that's a cool scene, but would she hug him?
I don't know. Who knows? I mean, I certainly wouldn't.
I'd stay well away.
But that's if you think about following his character throughout it, and then he goes through the sort of fusion, and then he starts to get angry, as you say.
Yeah.
And when he realizes that actually something is, when he realizes what happened and that there was a fly fusion, he kind of changed back to being, that's why I'm angry, that's why I'm in it. So I get it as a scientist, engineer. I get why I'm like that now.
Yeah.
And it suddenly made sense, and that's when he was able to phone her up and say, can you come and just see me? I know why I was so angry before.
Yeah. This is a horror film, but it's not like he's that villain. It's not till the very end when he can't control it.
Yeah. That
he becomes this sort of beast, really. And there are moments of this, certain shots and scenes reminded me of both Beauty and the Beast and Hunchback of Notre Dame. There's little bits like that where he smashes through a window at one point and takes Gina Davis away and goes off like the Hunchback of Notre Dame would do. And so there's sort of nods to these classic horror stories, but there's still motivation, because it turns out Gina Davis's character, I always say the actor's name, I don't know, I hope people are all right with that, it's just easier for me when I'm talking about it, and she becomes pregnant, so then he's got motivation for keeping himself, if he's going to die through this, his genes will carry on.
Yeah.
And he does say at one point that might be the last true part of me.
Yeah. Well, he was prepared to say goodbye. He said, "Don't come back here anymore." And that was it. He only found out because he sat on the roof and heard them down in the car, and then that desperation kicked back, and he thought maybe there is hope. Maybe I can. Yeah. I
mean, and also going back to the love story side of it. I mean, he only gets in the teleporter on his own because he's had a few drinks and he's upset because he thinks that Gina Davis has gone back to her ex. So there's that little bit of sort of storytelling of why would he get in there on his own? Why doesn't he wait and do more tests or wait until someone else is there? So it shows that there's sort of this desperate side to him.
Yeah, there is desperation. There is that desperation.
And can we just very briefly talk about Gina Davis, who's the journalist and a great actress, not long after she won an Oscar for, I think, Thelma and Louise, and obviously Goldblum. But the sort of third main character, boss of the newspaper she works for and her ex, played by John Getz, who's the ex-sleazy boyfriend.
Yeah.
His name escapes me, but he is the stereotypical 80s douchebag, sleazeball character that you don't see much of this sort of character in movies nowadays. But I think it's because as a society, men have moved on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he is, in the end, when it's all going wrong, he is there for Gina Davis, and it does seem like a friendship then. But he's so fucking sleazy all the way. Sorry, I swear, all the way through the film. He acts really stalkery. He's her ex, but she comes home from being out, and he's literally in her house having a shower.
Yeah.
Which is really creepy. He follows her around, and then it says at one point that he's her ex-teacher, which is really creepy as well when you think about it. I mean, saying that, if you've seen Indiana Jones, the girlfriend in the first one was an ex-student. But it was the 80s, eh? But then they have a sensible conversation, and she's about to leave, and then he just says about just sex relieving sex, you and me. It's that stress relieving sex, you and me. Really, really creepy. But I suppose that is to show why you want her to be with Jeff Goldblum over this guy early on.
And also, and I thought about this when we were just watching it, I wonder whether we're kind of getting the impression that Goldblum's going to be using him as a test subject. He's like, I'm going to get him and then use him. You could be, I don't know, you wouldn't really know what he'd do, but I just wondered whether we might see him as being like his first test subject or something. If you haven't seen it before, you would have. Yeah,
and also it's a character that the way they show him, depict him, if he was to die, you wouldn't care, because he's just, till the very end, there's no redeeming features in him. And even then, is he helping her just because he wants to get back in her pants?
I think the relationship's moved on a little bit.
And also, where's he got a gun from? Oh, it's America. So he shows up with a gun. The ending though, she ends up. He turns full fly, and the gun that douchebag has brought to the apartment where it's all going wrong. Jeff puts it as the fly to his head, and Gina Davis pulls the trigger in quite a emotional, memorable ending. But that still goes back to the original where she kills him. And that's, it's when you analyze these films and watch them back to back, you see more similarities than if you were to watch them 5 years apart. Because when I watched the original last night, I remember thinking it's not that much alike apart from but when you look at it, there's more nods, so to speak, than you'd think. There's probably a lot that I didn't even pick up on because people have seen the films loads and loads of times. And both around the same time in length. For me, and I think it's because it's a more modern way of telling the story, this one flowed better.
Yes.
I think the whole look of the film, the grittiness,
you're on his journey, aren't you? You're really with him.
It feels real, whereas the other one does feel like a B movie. And that, to be honest, the other one was a B movie.
I say, I kind of feel the other one's more like a stage show. It's like it's choreographed rather than I don't know, sort of film scene by scene. But
I mean, there was no. I suppose the closest you had to the Vincent Price character was the douchebag character in this, as in he was in love with the woman as well. But in the original, you're on Vincent Price's side, and he's not doing anything sleazy.
No.
And I think that is the jump between the 50s and the 80s in the way people. Well, not necessarily the way they were, because they probably always were like that, but the way you depict things on screen. Because you wouldn't have that character being like that in a film in the 50s unless he had a big old moustache, proper Dustin Muttley villain-esque. You know what I mean? Granted, Vincent Price had the moustache, but he was a very likable character in that. And also in this, there's only really 3 characters you follow. There's a few people you bump into on the way, like the woman he picks up. But it's basically about these 3 people.
It is. It is. It is about that. And there's another thing that I remember when I watched it a long time ago, when he comes out of the pod and you eventually see his back and he's got these what they were calling hairs. I always thought they were the fly's legs,
Yeah.
And then, but then when she got them tested, she said that they were hairs. But I always thought that it was like
it looks
embedded into his.
Because it's into a scar that you see him get. He rolls over into a bit of technology, isn't it? And so he's cut open before he goes into the machine.
I didn't spot that it was in that scar.
Yeah. But yeah, the hairy back bit is sort of spoofed. It was not spoofed. They mentioned it in City Slickers. Billy Crystal, because he's getting older. He says, "I looked at my back the other day and I've got more hairs on there than a fly or something." I always think of that when I see that scene. And getting older, I'm like, am I turned into a fly? No, I'm just getting older. Which is, but yeah, and this. Gina Davis and Jeff Goldblum, I was going to mention, I think they were together at this point because they married briefly, didn't they?
Did they?
Yeah, they got married and they were in another. Do you know the other movie they starred in together? It's not so well known. Musical comedy with those two, and Jim Carrey's in it and Damon Wayans. The music of Julie Brown. It's called Earth Girls Are Easy. It's a sci-fi comedy.
I haven't.
Worth checking out. Really 80s, and I think that was 88. It was after this. Didn't do very well, but kind of sort of a cult classic. And Jim Carrey years before Ace Ventura as well. Worth checking out. And they didn't obviously come back for The Fly 2 because Jeff Goldblum's character is no more. Have you seen The Fly 2?
I haven't.
Okay, that's Eric Stoltz.
Oh, yeah, you were talking about that, yeah.
Yeah, and I forget her name, but the actress from Spaceballs. And that was made a few years later. And simple plot, for some reason she doesn't have the abortion. Kid's grown up, starts to become the Fly. I remember it not being that bad, but it proper bombed. It's not Cronenberg.
No.
And but yeah, it's one I'd be interested in watching again. And I don't know, maybe do a podcast about it at some point. Finish the thing, but I'm not going to do all the sequels to the 50s one because there was another 4.
Oh, was there?
Yeah, they were right from what I remember. But yeah.
So one last thing is the music.
Howard Shore, isn't it?
Is it Howard Shore?
Yeah.
The music I thought was brilliant.
Yeah.
And really, again, the music really carries a scene. And I thought it was very powerful.
Yeah, and also for a film made in 1986, you haven't got, you'd get a pop song or a rock song in it, but in this it's all score, isn't it?
It is all score,
which I think really works for it, and almost helps it seem ageless. I mean, there's bits of it were very 80s, like the tape recorder and that.
The tape recorder, the computer noises.
Yeah.
And, whenever a character would appear on the screen, it would sort of go like that.
But it's not that cliche 80s like a lot of them. And when you think of The Fly, you think Cronenberg and horror film. You don't think, an 80s one. Whereas like when we spoke about Short Circuit a few episodes ago, that it's so 80s that you just identify that with that decade.
Yeah.
So yeah, the music lifts this as much, if not more, than the original one. I think. I was just looking at Howard Shore. He worked with Cronenberg before this on the Brood, Scanners, and the Videodrome, so they knew what he was doing. Also afterwards on Dead Ringers, Naked Lunch, and then straight after Naked Lunch, he scored Mrs. Doubtfire.
Really?
Yeah, he's done Ed Wood. I think he had something to do with Saturday Night Live before he got into film scoring.
I can imagine he's got a big portfolio.
Yeah, definitely done Late Night with Conan O'Brien.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, he's done loads, and my favourite is Ed Wood, which stands out to me because being a Tim Burton fan.
Yeah.
Firstly, that one's the first film he done based on a true story, and secondly, it was the first one I know of that didn't have Danny Elfman doing the music.
Oh, right.
Because usually they work together. So yeah, fun fact for you. So anything else on The Fly while we're...
Not really. It's a fantastic classic horror from the 80s with practical effects. Great story. I'm not going to say it's original because it's it's the remake, but it's a great horror film. Yeah,
done really well. And when people moan about remakes, and don't get me wrong, I do think there's too many. I do think most aren't better than the originals. But this really backs up what I often say is the best remakes, or my favourite remakes, I'd say, ones I feel work the best, were made in the 80s and remakes of 50s and 60s B movies. This one is the one that stands out, and that's probably why it won this vote, because of that, as I said before. So thank you all for voting, and thank you, because I was trying to push another film than this. I'm glad we watched this. But you've got this, The Thing, The Blob, Invaders of Mars, all the Little Shop of Horrors, all 80s movies that are classics that people might not even know were remakes of 50s films. And I think, whenever you moan about remakes, do think they're not all that bad. And we picked a good example. And last episode, I forgot I said this, it was an episode that, I don't know if it was the last one went out, but I really slagged off the Flatliners remake. And for that, because I know that I'm not saying you love it or anything, but you're interested in. You suggested
I think it's worthy of a comparison.
Yes,
I mean.
and I should never say I'm not going to do a podcast on a film, because even if I don't like it on second watch, I might like it more. Proven with the RoboCop.
Yeah.
So I bought the Blu-ray, and even though it didn't win the vote, at some point I want to do it, and I want you to come on.
Yeah. Because
I feel like a complete idiot. I'm definitely not doing that. It's rubbish. That's going against everything. I forgot I even said it, and I listened back, and I was like, oh, I did say that. So I want to do another vote on one at some point, but somewhere down the line, let's do Flatliners. I bought the special edition of the original one probably a year or so ago and haven't rewatched it yet, so I want to do that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Should I just quickly? We've got stuff to do after this, but I know on Letterboxd The Fly had a rating of 4 out of 5, which I think is more than fair.
Yeah.
On IMDb 7.6. Yep. And on Rotten Tomatoes 93%, slightly less than the original on Rotten Tomatoes, but higher on everything else. I'm gonna just go straight in there, and I think it's a 5-star movie.
Really?
I think for what it does, everything it tries to do, does it well, remembered, and how often is a remake actually better than the original?
That's very true. I personally, I'm gonna stay with 4. I have to be, even though I really, really enjoy it, I'm gonna go with 4.
4, fair dues. You can't argue. Both your scores have been Letterboxd.
I know.
I'm now going to call you Letterboxd. And very quickly, in the dream sequence, or not dreams, it was a dream sequence, where Gina Davis gives birth to a horrible fly-type creature. Who played the Doctor? He's got a mask on.
Don't know.
David Cronenberg himself.
Oh, really?
And I didn't know that, and I had a look, and when we stopped for a phone call during the film, I had a quick Google, and it was him. So, thank you all very much for listening. We are on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and our original home, Spotify. And don't be very afraid to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, everyone who's listened. Listen. Help me.
I'm Jem.
And I'm Victoria.
And we are childhood best friends with a true crime podcast called
The Criminal Crack. During each episode, one of us presents a true crime case to the other.
And the listener has no idea what the case will be.
So every reaction, question and twisted theory you hear is genuine and off the cuff.
So join us fortnightly on the platform of your choice.
And find us on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok by searching at The Criminal Crack.
Bye-bye.
Keep on trucking.
In 1986, David Cronenberg remade the classic 1958 B-movie The Fly, this time not starring Vincent Price, but starring Jeff Goldblum. David Cronenberg was at the peak of his career at this point, and this movie was a massive box office success. In this podcast, Beyond Graves and Stars, we look at sci-fi and horror franchises and remakes. We asked you, the audience, which effing remake we should make a podcast on. Remakes beginning with the letter F. You voted for The Fly beating Fright Night, Flatliners, Firestarter, and there was another one. I will start again.